Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Haunted Harbour scenario playthrough. Now in the last episode, we basically just placed a bit of an extension to the existing pathing layout. We moved a few of the flat rides around a little bit. We added a small Virginia reel to the side of the first drop of Woodpecker, the articulated wooden coaster. Added a bit of a haunted mansion on the hill behind the building of the ghost train ride, kind of as a way of making it seem like a more prominent sort of mansion overall. And we also added a side friction coaster right at the end, which was kind of based on Leap the Dips. So yeah, in the process of all of this, we also purchased quite a bit of land. The land that you start out with is a fairly small allocation, but the land you can buy is actually pretty cheap. It's like $20 a square, so yeah, it wasn't too much of an issue to expand the park out a little bit there. But in this episode, we're going to basically just finish off the park here. Now it took a little bit longer for me to finish the park off than I wanted. Time kind of just got away from me a little bit, so apologies to those who were kind of waiting for this episode for a while. But yeah, it's finally done now. So to start off with, I added that circus show with the kind of elephant fountain in the front of it there, as well as a wooden wild mouse coaster. Now I based it pretty much off the design of the coaster actually called Wild Mouse at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the UK. Now the layout, it's a bit of I think apart from it being a bit of a mirror, it's actually pretty well a carbon copy. Apart from also a few of the slopes that you can't quite replicate with this coaster type in the game. It's I think it's a pretty decent enough recreation. Another kind of major deviation from it is the fact that the station platform is no longer on the longer side, it's now on the short side, and I did that mainly for practicality reasons, just because it was a bit too difficult to get a queue and an exit path on the long side next to the circus show there. So yeah, just added a couple extra drops on the side. Unfortunately though, that only meant I could have 4 cars for the entire circuit, so the throughput is absolutely terrible, but I was happy enough with how it turned out. I think it did its job reasonably well in the end. Something else I forgot to point out that was that I'm basically sticking with older style rides in this park. I'm kind of going for a bit of a vintage and family oriented sort of style park. So there's not going to be too many modern rides here. I think the scrambled eggs is pretty much the cap of modern rides here. So yeah. Anyway, back to the Wild Mouse. So that I didn't have it just kind of sitting on the sand, I did extend the land a little bit out into the water. When I say the land, I mean the grassy kind of dirt, I suppose. So I removed a bit of the sand, I guess, and as well as that, I added a bit of foliage in between a few of the gaps. Not too much here. I did want to kind of keep it, somewhat scattered, and sort of, appropriate looking for a bit of a coastline, I guess. I then also adjusted the shoreline of the beach just a little bit, just to make it more, a little bit less jagged, and trying to make it a little bit more natural looking. I added in a little boat rental, or canoe boats, I guess, just on the side of the pier there. It doesn't look super realistic just having the platform kind of out like that, but I didn't want too much pathing going over the water, so I just kind of had to make do with what I had there. I used some of the rocky ground texture to make somewhat of a breakwater out, and kind of protecting that little area where people are typically canoeing about there. So yeah, that was kind of the intent there. I tried to make it kind of not just flat. I wanted to make it a little bit jagged so it would look as natural as I could possibly make it. So yeah, After that was done, I then decided to try and bring a little bit of life to the beach. So it's like the original kind of beachfront that you're given in the scenario. It's quite a large area, and I didn't want to just have it kind of sitting all by itself with no kind of action. But I didn't really want like rides on there either, because I didn't think that would be too realistic. So yeah, what I did was add in a bit of the I can't remember the name of the pathing, but it's the one that it's kind of the tiled pathing, and it actually blends pretty well, I think, with the sand texture. So yeah, I just put kind of pathing around there, just connecting up various bits of the boardwalk, which kind of goes down to meet it. Yeah, it was just pathing kind of randomly scattered around. Just wanted to give the beach a little bit more action, I guess. And then I used one of Dirklink's ideas by using Ghost Train track to basically try and make it look like there's beach chairs along the beach there. And yeah, I think that turned out pretty well. I think they're reasonably proportioned, like they're compared to the size of the guests, I mean. So yeah, I was pretty happy with the way that turned out. Made sure to give them a bit of variety in terms of colors, just to, you know, make it look like there might be some, I don't know, different colored towels or whatever. Also used the those mushrooms from the Candyland, I think it's Candyland or Wonderland set, to make it look like there was some umbrellas around. You can't use the tile inspector to kind of stack scenery items or the disable clearance checks either, like you can in OpenArt CT2. But I just put them next to each other, and I thought it was convincing enough. I then added I think it was a hat stall, and just that was meant to be a beach towel rental place. So that was the intent there. Now you may have noticed already, but given the pretty small amount of rides, I did decide to put more shops and stalls than usual. More as just a way of getting the soft guest cap up a little bit, because the objective is to have 1,200 guests by the end of October Year 3. So I really did need to get that guest capacity up. You know, not just by using rides, because I was running out of space, and I didn't really have too many more rides up my sleeve that I wanted to get in. So yeah, that's kind of my thinking there. One thing which definitely helped with that was the little Carney Games area at the top end of the pier. So I basically just put 4 souvenir stores in close proximity. Yeah, with the intent that they looked like kind of Carney Games, which is something that I've done quite a few times actually. Also added a couple more supports, or bits of support structure, using the wooden wild mouse to the articulated wooden coaster just on the side there, kind of over the top of the station of the ghost train, just because there was a large section of the S-bend there, pretty high up, which just kind of had support work kind of hovering in midair somewhat. So yeah, I just wanted to make that seem a little bit more structurally sound. I then made what I felt like was a pretty bold decision in the end, to add a cycle railway that basically sits on top a lot of the beachfront sort of area and the kind of entrance kind of area to the park. At first I was thinking of a car ride to do this, but the thicker track made it seem even more intrusive. So the narrow track, I think, that the cycle railway has really helps with that. And it also has access to the wide turns and the S-bends. So yeah, I think it just looks a lot more smooth overall. And although the disadvantage of the cycle railway is that you can't vary its height, I think the benefits outweigh that. So yeah, I quite like how it looks. I think it adds another dimension to the area, and of course did also help bring that soft guest cap up a little bit, which helped certainly contributed towards the guest count. One drawback of the cycle railway was that I had to do some pretty major surgery on the entrance building, as well as the kind of pathing around that area, and I had to shift the info kiosks, and getting the exit and entrance path hooked up to that cycle railway was that was a little bit of a challenge actually. I also had to unfortunately take away some of the symmetrical effect of the entrance and exit of the Haunted Mansion behind the coaster. But yeah, I think the Sakura Railway definitely looks good, and yeah, although I had to move a few things around to kind of accommodate it, I think it paid off in the end, and I was pretty happy with how it all looked in the end. And the Sakura Railway also helped. It made the area maybe look a little bit more crowded, but I think it certainly helped give it more of that Blackpool Pleasure Beach vibe that I was kind of going for from the start. So yeah, just adding in a few more shops and stalls around the area. I then purchased a little bit more land, kind of out the other side of the park, and added a crooked house on the hillside there. Another gentle ride, I guess, but yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the purpose here was to focus on keeping the park pretty family friendly overall, with the more older style rides. So I think the crooked house was a good thing to add in there. Did a little bit more work along the beach to fill out a few spots there. I then started work on kind of the last major project of this park playthrough here, which was buying some more land and making a purely aesthetic switchback railway. Now, I believe this was considered one of the very first types of roller coaster, and given that I wanted to use the reverser coaster at some stage, I thought this would be a good compromise because I was running out of time, and it was a nice kind of simple layout to do, and I think it, although it doesn't work, I think it certainly adds to that older vintage style that I was going for with the park here. So pretty happy with the decision. It also fit really well in the just the side of the park here, and I didn't need to buy a whole lot of land to accommodate it. So yeah, I think it all turned out pretty well in the end. Rather than just having the elevated station platform, I did want to kind of make it look like there was some sort of accessibility to it. So yeah, I did add in a couple sections of mini golf track. Since the mini golf track is basically not super flexible, like in terms of height variation, it does take up a lot of space if you want to change height. So to get around that, I just added in a single steep slope of the junior roller coaster track. Would have preferred to use a steel wild mouse because I think that looks more like a ladder, but I was happy enough with the junior or steel mini coaster there. I then added in a small maze, which was intended to be a bit of a zombie walk, because I realized I didn't really have a whole lot of like haunted sort of theme rides, and although like the park's called Haunted Harbour, I didn't want to go for like a purely spooky theme, but I thought I needed more than a ghost train and a haunted mansion at the same time. So yeah, I thought one more extra ride with a kind of spooky theme would go pretty well, and any excuse to use that skeleton theming object with the hat there, I'll take. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I was going for a bit of a zombie walk there, so I put in a fair bit of the spooky theming objects around the place. With the last section of park here, I didn't put a whole lot of effort into the pathing. It's definitely not the most tidy looking, but it gets the job done, I think. You've probably noticed again that I've been using the pause technique because I realized when I started the last bit of the project here with the switchback railway, it was September year 3, so I really again needed to make use of every single second. So that's why I'm pausing the game in between, selecting various rides, advertising campaigns, and scenery objects, because yeah, it really does add up, like in terms of how much time you save when you do that. I realize it probably makes the time lapse a little bit less flowing, I guess, but yeah, I kind of just needed to do it at the end there, just in order to get the park all nice and complete and all the gaps filled in that I wanted. Probably also noticed just before that I did make sure to purchase that land over in the corner of the map with the initials CS, out of respect to the legend Chris Sawyer himself. Didn't do anything super creative with it, just raised the land and added in a different terrain texture. Not super creative, but better than nothing, I think. And just going on a bit of an overview of the park, we had the Virginia Reel, which I called Torellian Tub Twist, which was heavily inspired off the ride of the same name in Joyland in the UK, I believe. We've also got the side friction coaster, which I called Scary Side because I like my puns. That's a pretty bad one, but that's all I could think of at the time. Then the Wild Mouse, which is based on, again, the coaster of the same name at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Unfortunately no longer exists, but went for a little replica there. So yeah, achieved the objective fairly comfortably in the end. I definitely did hit the advertising campaigns pretty hard, especially towards the, in the last 6 months of the scenario. Anyway, I think that's going to be just about it. Thank you all very much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.